The night was filled with golden light and endless flashes from the cameras. A grand Hollywood Awards ceremony had just begun, and the air was heavy with both excitement and tension. Celebrities dressed in their most elegant outfits walked across the carpet, smiling at the crowd, pretending to be calm even when their hearts raced. For many, it was a night of recognition, but for some, it was a night of silent battles fought inside their hearts. Ana de Armas entered the venue, her gown shimmering as if it carried pieces of the stars. Her face glowed with quiet confidence, yet deep inside she carried a weight she could not easily hide. As she walked forward, she heard the whispers, not loud, not obvious, but sharp enough to cut through her. She only got here because of luck. She doesn't belong at the same level as others. Maybe her charm is her only strength. The whispers surrounded her like shadows. No one dared say them directly, but Anna could feel the eyes, the comparisons, the jealousy hiding behind soft smiles. She tried to stay strong, but her heart felt restless. She had worked so hard, pushed through so many struggles, yet tonight the doubt seemed louder than the applause. Keanu Reeves was also present that night. Unlike many others, he walked without hurry, greeting people with gentle nods and humble smiles. He never carried the weight of arrogance, even though his career had been filled with success. Keanu noticed Anna from a distance. He could sense something was different. While others only saw her beauty and success, he saw the small cracks in her smile, the way her shoulders slightly tensed as she passed through the crowd. As the ceremony moved inside the grand hall, the whispers did not stop. In fact, they grew louder in her mind. Every laugh that echoed behind her felt like it carried judgment. Every glance felt like a comparison. Anna sat down at her table, trying to hide her unease, but her fingers trembled slightly as she held her glass. The host announced awards and performances, and the audience clapped, but Anna's thoughts kept circling back to those whispers. She remembered the years when she first arrived in Hollywood, unable to speak perfect English, facing rejection after rejection. She remembered crying alone in small apartments, reminding herself every night not to give up. Now, even with success, people still doubted her. Keanu quietly walked over during a break. He leaned slightly toward her, not drawing attention, just enough for his words to reach her. His voice was calm, warm, almost like a shield against the noise. "Anna," he said softly, "do not let the noise around you decide who you are. I see the strength in your journey, and strength never needs to explain itself." Anna froze for a moment. His words were simple, yet they carried a weight stronger than all the whispers combined. She looked at him, her eyes moist, as if someone had finally reminded her of the truth she had been forgetting. Keanu did not stay long. He returned to his seat, leaving her with those words. But in that moment, the hall seemed different. The whispers were still there, but their power was fading. She breathed deeply, letting his kindness settle inside her heart. And then something unexpected happened. As another award was announced, the spotlight landed near her. A well-known actress gave a smile that looked polished but carried a hint of envy. The cameras caught it and the audience noticed. The moment created a ripple, a silent wave of comparison that once again surrounded Anna. But this time, Anna sat straighter. Her hand stopped trembling. Keanu's words echoed inside her, reminding her that whispers were only echoes of other people's insecurities. She chose not to let them define her. What Anna did not know was that the night was only beginning. Behind the smiles and applause, greater tests of her spirit were waiting. And Keanu's gentle act would soon grow into something larger than anyone expected, turning one night into a lesson the world would never forget. The ceremony carried on, filled with bright lights, laughter, and endless applause, yet for Anna the air still felt heavy. Keanu's words had given her a moment of calm, but deep inside she knew the night was not finished testing her. She glanced around the hall, noticing how easily some people fit into the glittering world of Hollywood. Their smiles seemed natural, their confidence unshaken. Anna admired them, but at the same time, she felt the weight of standing in their shadows. When her category was announced, her heart raced. Her name was among the nominees. Cameras immediately turned toward her, and the entire hall seemed to focus on her expression. Her lips curved into a polite smile, but her chest tightened as she thought of the whispers again. "She does not deserve it. Others worked harder. She's just lucky." The host opened the envelope, stretching the silence for drama. When the winner was called, it was not Anna. She clapped politely, her face graceful, but inside she felt a deep sting. It was not just the loss, but the way she could hear the faint sighs of relief from those who doubted her, as if her not winning proved their point. Keanu noticed her struggle again. From across the hall, his eyes met hers. He did not need to speak. His calm presence reminded her to stay steady. Still, the pain of rejection made her chest ache. She whispered quietly to herself, "Stay strong, you've survived worse." As the evening continued, things became even more challenging. During a backstage break, Anna overheard a small group of guests talking. They did not realize she was nearby. "She tries too hard to fit in. Her success will not last long. Someone like her can never carry the weight of this industry." Anna felt the words hit her like cold rain. She stepped back quietly, her hands clenched. Part of her wanted to run, to escape the cruel judgment, but another part of her held onto Keanu's earlier words. She whispered them to herself again, "Strength does not need to explain itself." Later that night, the ceremony shifted into its second half. Performances filled the stage, people mingled, and conversations sparked in every corner. Anna found herself standing near the large glass doors that opened to the balcony. The night sky stretched wide, filled with stars. She stepped outside, breathing in the fresh air, letting it calm her restless heart. And then, unexpectedly, Keanu appeared beside her. He did not come with grand gestures or loud words. He simply stood there, his presence steady, his silence comforting. After a few quiet moments, he finally spoke. "Do you know why whispers feel so heavy?" he asked gently. Anna turned toward him, her eyes curious. "Because they are not just words," he continued. "They are reflections of the fears people carry within themselves. When you hear them, you feel their weight. But remember, their fears are not yours to carry." Anna's eyes grew soft. She had never thought of it that way. Keanu's words were simple, but they opened something inside her, as if he had given her permission to release the burden she did not own. But before she could answer, something unexpected happened. Another actress, glamorous and respected, stepped out onto the balcony. She greeted Keanu warmly, but when her eyes shifted toward Anna, her smile changed. It was polite, but underneath it carried a cold sharpness. "You look beautiful tonight, Anna," she said, her tone smooth yet edged. "It's nice to see you holding up, even though the award didn't come your way." The words were gentle on the surface, but the intention behind them was clear. It was not kindness, it was comparison. Anna felt her chest tighten again. Before she could respond, Keanu spoke softly, but with a firmness that silenced the air. "True beauty is not measured by trophies or applause," he said. "It is measured by the courage to keep standing, even when the world tries to push you down." His words hung in the night, echoing louder than any whisper. The actress blinked, caught off guard. She forced another smile and left the balcony quickly, leaving behind the tension she had tried to create. Anna stood still, her eyes wide. Keanu had not defended her with anger or pride, but with calm truth. She felt something stir inside her, a strength she had almost forgotten. As they both looked out at the stars, Anna whispered quietly, almost to herself, "Maybe tonight is not about losing an award, maybe it's about finding my voice again." Keanu glanced at her with a small, knowing smile, and for the first time that evening, Anna felt the whispers losing their power. But what neither of them knew was that the night still had one more twist waiting. A moment was approaching that would test everything Anna had learned so far, and it would happen in front of the entire world. The hall glowed brighter as the final stretch of the ceremony began. The biggest awards of the night were yet to be announced, and the crowd buzzed with anticipation. People whispered predictions, photographers sharpened their focus, and the entire room seemed to pulse with restless energy. Anna sat at her table again, her heart steadier now after Keanu's quiet support on the balcony. Still, she knew something was building, something bigger than the whispers, something that would test her strength in front of everyone. The host stepped onto the stage, his smile wide, his voice filled with showmanship. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for one of the most awaited categories of the evening." The audience leaned forward as he continued, "Best Ensemble Award." Anna's film was among the top contenders. Though she had not won earlier, this category included her work with a cast she deeply respected. Her mind raced with hope and doubt as the spotlight shifted. The tension was thick. The envelope was opened, and then the words rang out. "And the winner is the cast of Shattered Horizons." Cheers erupted. That was Anna's film. Her name was called with her co-stars. The cameras turned instantly toward her, capturing every detail of her reaction. The audience applauded as the cast stood, making their way toward the stage. But as Anna walked alongside them, something subtle yet sharp happened. One of her fellow cast members, an actress known for her strong presence and polished charm, leaned slightly toward her. Her words were quiet, hidden beneath the applause, but they carried poison. "Don't think you're the reason we won. Others carried this film. You were just the pretty face." Anna's steps faltered for a second. The words pierced her heart, sharper than the whispers from earlier. She tried to mask her expression as they reached the stage, but the sting clung tightly. The cast gathered around the microphone, each member taking turns to thank the crew and the audience. Anna stood a little behind, her mind torn between pride and the fresh wound of insult. She wondered if people in the crowd could see the tension behind her smile. Then, unexpectedly, the microphone was offered to her. She had not prepared to speak. The entire hall turned its gaze toward her. The lights burned brighter, the cameras zoomed closer. Her heart pounded. For a moment, she thought of stepping back, letting someone else speak. But then she remembered Keanu's words. Strength never needs to explain itself. Their fears are not yours to carry. True beauty is courage. Those phrases echoed in her mind. She took a slow breath, lifted her head, and stepped forward. Her voice was soft at first, but steady. "Thank you," she said, her words echoing across the hall. "This award is not just about one person, but about the effort of many hearts working together. When I came here years ago, I was scared. I did not know if I would belong. But tonight, I stand with people who remind me that we rise higher not by comparing each other, but by lifting each other." The hall grew silent, listening closely. Anna continued, her voice stronger now. "Sometimes the whispers around us try to tell us we are not enough, but those whispers only live if we let them. I want to say to anyone who has ever felt small in a room like this, you belong. You matter, your journey is your strength." A wave of applause broke through the silence. It was not the usual polite clapping. It was loud, powerful, emotional. Some in the audience even stood. Anna's heart trembled, but this time it was not from fear. It was from the realization that her voice had found its place. She stepped back, her eyes glancing at Keanu in the crowd. He was clapping too, not with the pride of someone who saved her, but with the respect of someone who had simply reminded her of the strength she already carried. Yet, just as the applause began to settle, something unexpected happened. The actress who had whispered harsh words to Anna earlier stepped forward and took the microphone again. Her smile was polished, but her tone carried a subtle edge. "Thank you, Anna, for your heartfelt words," she said. "It's always inspiring to hear such passion, especially from someone still learning her place in this industry." The hall shifted uncomfortably. Some laughed softly, unsure if it was meant as a joke. Others exchanged glances, sensing the sharpness beneath her words. The cameras captured every second, sending the moment live across millions of screens. Anna froze. The world was watching. Her strength had been tested once, but now it was being challenged again, and this time on the grandest stage of all. The hall held its breath. Anna's words had touched hearts, but the sharp comment from her co-star now floated in the air like a shadow. It was subtle enough to be disguised as humor, but heavy enough that everyone felt the sting. The audience shifted in their seats, unsure how to react. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every flicker of expression on Anna's face. Inside, Anna's chest tightened. She could feel the old fear creeping back, the same fear that had followed her when she was new to Hollywood, fear of being dismissed, misunderstood, or treated as less. For a brief second, she thought of retreating, of forcing a smile and letting the moment pass. But then she remembered the words Keanu had given her, like anchors against the storm. "Do not carry their fears. Your strength does not need permission." The applause had quieted now, leaving silence behind. Everyone was waiting, some for drama, some for dignity. Anna's heart beat faster, and she knew this was the moment that would decide whether she walked away with dignity or let the whispers win. But before she could speak, something unexpected happened. Keanu rose from his seat in the audience. He did not move quickly or with drama. He simply stood, his presence calm and quiet, yet powerful enough that the cameras immediately turned toward him. The hall stirred with surprise. Keanu was not part of the winning cast, yet here he was, stepping onto the stage. His movements carried no arrogance, only humility, as though he was not taking the spotlight but walking into it to share it with others. When he reached the microphone, he gave a small nod to the host, then looked at the audience. "Sometimes," he began softly, his voice calm but clear, "we forget what these nights are truly about. We celebrate art, but art is not a competition of egos. Art is about courage, about telling stories that touch people, and courage is what I just saw in Anna's words." The audience grew still, listening intently. Keanu glanced at Anna, offering her the same gentle smile he had shown on the balcony. Then he turned back to the crowd. "I've been in this industry for many years. I've learned that awards are not the true measure of greatness. Greatness is the ability to stand tall even when people try to push you down. Greatness is humility, resilience, kindness. Tonight I saw all of that." His words echoed in the grand hall, soft yet powerful. Many in the audience began clapping, some even standing again. The moment had shifted. The tension, the quiet sting left behind by the actress's sharp remark, began to dissolve in the warmth of his humility. Anna felt her eyes burn with emotion. She had not asked for his defense, yet his words did not sound like defense at all. They sounded like truth, spoken not to protect her, but to remind everyone of what truly mattered. The actress who had thrown the remark stood frozen, her smile tight. For the first time that night, she seemed unsettled. The spotlight no longer favored her polished charm. It now reflected her pettiness, exposed under Keanu's quiet wisdom. The applause grew louder, rolling across the hall like a wave. People turned toward Anna, clapping for her with genuine respect. She stood still for a moment, overwhelmed, then bowed her head slightly in gratitude. As the cast exited the stage, Anna walked beside Keanu. The crowd behind them still murmured, but this time the whispers were different. They were not filled with jealousy or doubt. They were filled with admiration, with a sense that they had just witnessed something rare. Kindness displayed openly in a world where pride often reigned. Backstage, Anna stopped for a moment, her voice trembling. "Keanu, why did you do that? You didn't have to step in." He looked at her with calm eyes. "I didn't do it for you," he said gently. "I did it for everyone watching who has ever felt smaller because of someone else's words. You reminded them of their worth tonight. I only reminded them to listen." Anna's chest filled with emotion. She realized then that his act was not about her alone. It was about something larger, something universal. Keanu's humility had turned a moment of insult into a lesson of respect, not just for her, but for every person watching around the world. But as the night moved on, neither of them knew that the story was far from over. Outside the glittering hall, the world was already reacting. Clips of the moment were spreading, whispers were turning into headlines, and soon the test of humility and kindness would not just be inside one room, but across millions of voices. The ceremony ended with bright smiles and closing music, but as the celebrities walked out of the hall, the real storm had already begun. Outside, the cameras flashed endlessly, capturing every glance, every expression, every small gesture. Anna walked beside Keanu, her face calm but her heart still racing. She could feel that the night was not finished with her. Within minutes, clips of the stage moment spread across social media. The internet was quick to react. One clip showed Anna's heartfelt speech, and people praised her honesty and courage. Another clip showed her co-star's sharp remark, and viewers began debating it fiercely. Then came the moment of Keanu stepping onto the stage, his humble words calming the tension. That clip spread faster than all the others. Headlines appeared everywhere. Keanu Reeves steps in with gentle wisdom. Ana de Armas silences whispers with grace. Award night turns into a lesson of kindness, but along with the praise came something darker. Not everyone responded with kindness. Some voices on the internet twisted the story, questioning Ana again. She needed Keanu to save her, some wrote. Others said, maybe the remark was true, maybe she isn't strong enough. The same jealous whispers that had started in the hall were now echoing across millions of screens. Ana sat in the car that night, scrolling through the reactions. Every positive comment brought her comfort, but every cruel word dug into her like glass. She felt as though the world had been split into two, those who saw her truth and those who refused to. Keanu sat quietly beside her. He didn't touch his phone, didn't care for the headlines. Instead, he looked out of the window, his expression calm. After a while, he turned toward her. "Anna," he said softly, "the world will always divide itself. Some will choose kindness, others will choose cruelty, but neither changes who you are. Don't let their noise decide the meaning of your voice tonight." His words comforted her, but deep inside, the doubt still lingered. She whispered, almost to herself, "What if they are right? What if I am not enough on my own?" Keanu shook his head gently. "Strength is not about standing alone. Strength is about standing true. You spoke with your heart. That was enough." The car drove through the city, passing flashing billboards and glowing streetlights. Anna leaned back, closing her eyes, but her mind was restless. The night that had started with whispers had now turned into a global storm. The next morning, the weight grew heavier. Newspapers, blogs, and television channels replayed the moment endlessly. Interviews were requested. Fans flooded her social media, some praising her bravery, others mocking her. The sharp remark from her co-star was dissected by talk shows, and debates filled the air. Her phone rang constantly. Some of her team advised her to release a statement. Others told her to stay quiet and let the noise fade. The pressure was immense, and Anna felt herself caught in the middle. By noon, a new twist arrived. The actress who had thrown the remark the night before gave her own interview. With polished words and a practiced smile, she said, "I didn't mean to offend Anna. It was a light comment, but maybe she is still too sensitive. Hollywood is tough, and sensitivity does not help anyone." The statement hit like a fresh wound. Once again, Anna's strength was questioned in front of the world. She sat in her apartment, staring at the screen, her eyes heavy with frustration. "Why does it always come back to me being weak?" she whispered. And then, almost as if fate wanted to test her again, an invitation arrived. A major talk show wanted her to appear the next evening. It would be live, and the host had already announced the topic. Strength, resilience, and the Night of Whispers. Anna froze. This was her chance to speak openly, but it was also a risk. The world would be watching again. Every word, every expression would be captured, dissected, praised, or mocked. She looked at Keanu, who had come to visit. He simply asked, "Do you want to do it?" Anna hesitated. Her heart was torn between fear and courage. The world was giving her a stage again, but this time without warning, without script. Finally, she whispered, "I don't know if I can." Keanu leaned forward, his voice steady. "Then let me tell you this, when you spoke last night, you didn't speak for applause, you spoke for truth, and truth is never weak. If you go on that stage tomorrow, don't go to defend yourself. Go to remind the world of what respect and kindness look like." Anna felt her chest tighten, but this time it was not fear. It was resolve slowly forming. The Night of Whispers had shaken her, but now she realized it was also giving her a choice. To stay silent or to rise again. She looked at Keanu with steady eyes. "Then tomorrow I will speak." The next evening arrived faster than Anna expected. The city buzzed with excitement and speculation. News outlets announced her appearance on the talk show, and people across the world prepared to watch. Some tuned in hoping to see drama, others waited to see strength. For Anna, it felt as though she was walking into the heart of the storm. Backstage, the air was cold and tense. The producers gave her instructions, makeup artists fixed her face, and her team whispered last-minute advice. Anna listened quietly, but inside her chest, her heart was thundering. She thought of the whispers she had heard that night at the awards, of the cruel words in the interviews, of the endless comments online. Every memory tried to weigh her down. Then, just before she walked out, Keanu appeared backstage. He was not scheduled to speak, not there to steal the spotlight. He was simply there to stand with her. He gave her a small nod, his presence calm, his voice steady. "Remember," he said softly, "you're not going out there to fight them. You're going out there to free yourself." Those words sank deep into her heart. She took a breath, lifted her head, and walked toward the stage. The audience cheered as she entered. The host welcomed her warmly, but the tension was still there, thick and heavy. After some small talk, the host leaned forward, his tone sharp but curious. "Anna," he began, "last night your speech moved many people. But others say you overreacted to a harmless remark. Some even say you only looked strong because Keanu Reeves stepped in for you. What do you say to that?" The hall grew quiet. Millions watched from their homes, waiting for her reply. Anna's throat tightened for a moment, but then she remembered the balcony, the stage, the whispers, and Keanu's words. She leaned slightly forward, her eyes clear. "I don't believe kindness is weakness," she said softly. "When people question my strength, I understand why. It's easy to confuse humility with fragility. But the truth is, strength is not about standing with anger or proving yourself louder than others. Strength is about standing true, even when whispers surround you." The host nodded, intrigued. Anna continued, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Yes, Keanu spoke last night, and I am grateful, but his words did not make me stronger. They reminded me of the strength I already had inside me. We all need reminders sometimes. That does not make us weak, it makes us human." The audience erupted into applause. The host smiled, sensing the power in her words, but Anna was not finished. She turned toward the camera, as though speaking directly to the millions watching at home. "To anyone who has ever felt small because of someone's remark or judgment, I want to tell you this. Your worth is not measured by trophies, applause, or what others say. Your worth is in your courage to keep standing, to keep moving, to keep believing that kindness is not less than strength. It is the highest form of strength." The applause grew louder, filling the studio, shaking the room. Some in the audience stood, clapping with tears in their eyes. Anna's words had not just defended her, they had spoken for everyone who had ever felt silenced by whispers. Backstage, Keanu watched quietly. His expression was calm, but his heart was full. He knew that Anna had walked into the storm and had come out stronger. She no longer needed his voice. Her own voice had become enough to silence the whispers of the world. The show ended with standing ovations. Social media exploded again, but this time the voices were different. The headlines praised her resilience, her grace, her courage. Ana de Armas redefines strength, they wrote. The clip of her words spread across the globe, touching people far beyond Hollywood. Later that night, Ana stepped outside under the quiet sky. Keanu stood beside her, both of them looking up at the stars. She whispered softly, "The whispers feel quiet now." Keanu smiled gently. "They were never meant to be louder than your truth." She looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you for reminding me." He shook his head. "You reminded yourself? I only held up a mirror." The two stood in silence, the city lights glowing around them. The night that had begun with whispers had ended with something far greater, a voice that no longer trembled, a spirit that no longer feared.